Welcome to Anatomy 53, and I'm going to share my readings on the cervical vertebrae. There are 7 cervical vertebrae: C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6, and C7. And we have what we call 3 atypical cervical vertebrae: C1, C2, and C7. They're called atypical because they have their own characteristics. And we also have typical cervical vertebrae, C3, C4, C5, and C6. And they're called typical cervical vertebrae because they have the same features. Let's start with its vertebral bodies. Now, before that, let me show you the vertebral body of a thoracic vertebra. It is big and it's wider. And this vertebral bodies of a typical cervical vertebrae are small and they are transversely broad. What about their vertebral foramen? The hole where our spinal cord passes. The vertebral foramen of a typical vertebra are large and triangular in shape. Large and triangular in shape. It's large to accommodate the cervical enlargement of the spinal cord passing through. So let's see the vertebral foramen of a thoracic vertebra. It's not triangular. So see, this is triangular in shape. The spinous processes of a typical cervical vertebra are short, except the C6, which is longer. And a typical cervical vertebra has a bifid spinous process. Bifid, which means there's a split or it divides on its tip, giving us a Y shape. That's a bifid spinous process. The transverse processes. So before I present its transverse processes, let me show you the transverse process of a thoracic vertebra. These are the transverse processes of a thoracic vertebra. It doesn't have a hole or a foramen. A typical cervical vertebra has a hole on its transverse processes, and we call those holes transverse foramen or foramen transversarium. Articular processes. These are the articular processes with its facets. So this is the facet, articular facet. So this is an articular process with its articular facet. Facet means its face. So articular process with its articular facet. Articular process with its facet. And we also have articular facets below. So we also have articular processes with its facets below. And so we call this inferior articular processes, and this is superior articular processes and facets. Superior because they are located above, and inferior because they are located below. So this is how it works. See, that's how they join together. That's why they're called articular processes, and these are the articular facets. Facet. So, articular process, articular facet. Articular process with its facet. And this is called the superior articular process. And that one below is inferior articular process. Those are the features of a typical cervical vertebra. I have only one question. Give me one feature of a typical cervical vertebra. Thank you and have a Merry Christmas.